Dumb mistakes are a part of basketball, like a player forgetting to wear his shorts during a game, or even Lance celebrating a block while the play was still going on, resulting in an easy basket. These are all funny and harmless mistakes, but one NBA player's dumb mistake was so costly, it shut the entire league down. A mascot who caused a fire during a game, to even when a ref suspended a player, even though it was the ref's fault. Definition of white privilege. And these aren't even close to the dumbest things we're going to be going over. Also, I'm only going over actual dumb things, not dumb things like when KD tweeted, "Scarlett Johansson, I will drink your bathwater," because I'd do the same. She's bad as heck, and her bathwater probably tastes like some of the best Chinese food in the world. I'm not talking about that upscale expensive Chinese food. Nah, I'm talking about that Chinese food from the most ghetto hood place. Like when you pull up and there's a little Asian kid taking your order, you know it's gonna slap. Most dumb mistakes are caused by the players, obviously, but they also happen from the people you least expect it from. These guys, the Mop Boys, who are sadly forgotten about as their hard work goes unnoticed. From lending their magic stick to help get the game back on, to sometimes even helping out with the halftime shows. This guy did more for the Clippers than PG ever could. Mop Boys do a lot of good things for the NBA, but they also do the dumbest things too. In a game between the Rockets and the Pellies, Ariza almost facialed this poor little kid in front of his parents. I think EDP just found his new hobby. And the thing is, this actually happens a lot more times than you think.
Toscano Anderson, get off the floor, and he throws it down, runs around the sweep.
Did you see the eyes of the ball boy?
Usually though, like foreskin, they're able to disappear when things get hard, but not all the time, cause sometimes they end up costing teams points. Psycho T got a steal and started lumbering down the court, only to find a Mop Boy in his way. It happened again in a game between OKC and Minnesota. On a routine play, the Mop Boys thought that they could quickly clean up, so they started to. Then just 1 second later, that all changed. There was now a player running into them. Quickly, they tried to move, but it was way too late as they ended up costing the Wolves 2 points. With all these ball boy mistakes, it makes you think, why don't they just wait for a timeout, dead ball, a commercial or something? Seems like the smart thing to do. You see, there's a problem with that. With no one cleaning the sweat, the court turns into a P. Diddy oil party, resulting in players slipping all over the place, missing open shots, or even worse, injuries. Curry had a wide open layup, and when I say open, I'm talking about open like Larsa Pippen at the All-Star game open. But instead of getting a free lay, Curry ended up slipping. LeBron slipped once too, and left his skid marks on the court. During the finals when LeBron was on KD, another slip. Now, that's just them slipping though. The worst thing is when they start getting hurt. The even more worst thing is when it's the future face of the league getting hurt, which is exactly what happened to Wemby. He had an injury scare after slipping on some sweat. It looked like his ankle was done. Thankfully though, Daddy Longlegs was able to walk it off. Sadly, that wasn't the case for this ref. Yup, even the ref got in on it. Buddy tore his ACL, yet he still finished the game like a champ. My guy, chill, you're not even the one who's playing. That's the reason why Mop Boys find any chance they can to wipe off the sweat. It's an extremely important job. So much so that one almost got ejected for not doing his job correctly. Buddy almost went from first team all Mop Boy to jobless. I love these guys though, and how can you not? They obsess over helping their team out. Unlike this celebrity fan who does the exact opposite, with the move so dumb that it even ended up costing his team a playoff win. It happened in New York, between the heavily favored Knicks and the Pacers. This was a mismatch. I'm talking Zion versus Gutter Bunnies level mismatch, and it showed, cause the Knicks took a commanding 12-point lead in the fourth. All this had Spike Lee's balls feeling heavy, so he started trash-talking Reggie. He even talked about Reggie's sister, which is where he messed up, cause Miller responded. He started airing MSG out, 3 after 3. If there was a Hall of Fame for circling the block, Reggie would be first ballot. He even took the trash-talking a level higher. While Spike Lee's wife was sitting next to him, Miller walked up and told him to choke on his sweet potatoes. And he wasn't even done yet, cause then he did the most famous thing from the game, the two-hand choke sign. At this point, Spike Lee and the Knicks were taking turns getting stroked down by Reggie, but he hadn't reached climax just yet. No, cause he would follow all this up with this shot. Starks in his face, Reggie pulled up from deep. The Knicks had to call a timeout immediately, while Miller just stared daggers at Spike. Reggie had just Billy rocked the Knicks to a loss. And the crazy thing is, that's not even the only time a celebrity got into it with a player, cause Brooks and Shannon Sharp turned the NBA into WWE one time. A quick life lesson for everyone: no matter what you're doing, where you're at, or what's going on, it is never, ever a good idea to get into a beef with a man wearing a woman's sweater. That man has nothing to lose. And Brooks learned that the hard way as LeBron went to war for his groupie and just terrorized Brooks. He turned him into a glory hole. And this was all Brooks' fault. Like, I don't get why he's so eager to go out there and embarrass himself. Always in a hurry to look like an idiot. Are you not tired of catching L's or something? Not even his fans can defend him anymore. Well, okay, it's because he has no fans, but you get it. The dumb fan moments continued. As this fan pointed a laser in Harden's eyes while he was shooting free throw, they immediately pointed him out. I'm talking faster than you can think, blink, or fart. They found him, walked straight up to that man and kicked him out. Can't believe he really thought he could get away with distracting Harden. Maybe try honey buns next time. As dumb as this fan was though, he wasn't the only one who tried to cheat for his team. Except this one was actually a genius. It was just an average play when next thing you know, everyone stopped moving. Out of the blue, they just all stopped playing. What the heck's going on? Then suddenly, the Jazz took the ball and were now scoring a wide open basket. The Warriors were beyond pissed. Players were yelling and the coach started pressing the ref. But even he didn't know what was going on. What had happened was a fan had blown a whistle, which made the players think a foul was called, causing them all to stop. And before the Warriors could figure out what was going on, the Jazz had already scored an open layup. All thanks to this genius fan. I gotta try this at a Pistons game. They might actually win and I'll get free Wingstop. No matter how hard you try to stop them though, fans will always find a way to do the dumbest things. You can even ban them from attending games. They'll still find a way, like they did during the bubble. Fans were allowed to come to the games, but only via webcams. Seems like an innocent plan, right? Except it wasn't. Fans were posting pics of Chris Benoit. One fan even started stroking his giggle stick. Even had a fan wearing a Wizards uniform. No, not those Wizards, these ones. Fans even took it a step further and caused the darkest day in NBA history. It happened in the city of Detroit. This is already making so much sense. In a game between the Pistons and the Pacers, Artest fouled Frederick Douglass, and he absolutely erupted. He started shoving Artest and just going crazy. The other players started getting involved. Coaches were in the middle of it all. They were all trying to keep this game from getting out of hand, and it looked like it was working. That was until one fan thought he was Brady and threw a drink at Artest's face. Chaos erupted. Artest ran into the fans, tackled the fan. More fans started getting involved. Drinks were thrown at Artest. Jackson started throwing haymakers. And before you know it, the NBA had turned into the Royal Rumble. This resulted in the biggest suspension in NBA history. Artest got 86 games. Jackson got 30 games. O'Neal 25 games. And even 5 fans were arrested. If only the Pistons' actual players had the same Black Air Force energy as their fans did, they'd probably win more games. Heck, even their water has Black Air Force energy. Throughout the history of the NBA, it's faced some of the most dangerous, scary, and threatening situations. But no matter what happened, it never shut down. In the 70s, fights broke out every other night. Even in the finals, they averaged a depressing 8,000 fans a game. Players spent more time doing nose cardio than actual cardio. Yet, it still didn't shut down. Even in 2011, when 22 of the teams were going broke, they were losing $300 million a year. It still didn't shut down. Every time the NBA faced adversity, it found a way to overcome it. That was until this moment, because this time it was actually different. It was a lot worse. In fact, the entire world was struggling and going through the deadliest event of the century, the 2020 COVID pandemic. At that time, people were aware of the coronavirus, but it wasn't too serious yet. There were a few people who had it, some hospitalized, and even a few cities were shut down. But still, people went on with their days, life was normal. Fast forward to this night. As the interview finished up, Rudy Gobert was smiling and laughing as he touched every single mic that was in front of him. Shortly after, the OKC and Jazz game was cancelled, which was strange, and nobody knew why. Refs, coaches, fans, absolutely nobody. Panic started to set in, and then the NBA world was set into a frenzy. Rudy Gobert had tested positive for coronavirus. Shortly after, the NBA season was shut down. All because, if you remember, he had the dumb idea of touching all those mics. What he thought was a joke became the most critical and dumbest things in NBA history. Also, some people be asking me the dumbest questions ever. Like, oh, what made him touch all those mics? IDK, should I go ask him or something? You want me to text him or you want to? Like, come on, bro, how would I know why this idiot did all that? And guess what? Players are constantly doing dumb things in the league. Miles Bridges caught a felony charge, was sentenced to 3 years of probation, all for beating a $100 million contract out of his girlfriend. Please pray for the city of Charlotte, because it's flooded with even more acoustic players. Kemba pulled up and started shimming on a shot that didn't even go in. When Brunson hits a midi in front of Iggy, you don't see him hitting a celly, yet you're over here doing the most. And for what? Harper ended up doing something even more embarrassing, because not only was he celebrating early, but he was also running the clock out. In a game where his team was losing, the Mavs were down by 2 against the Lakers when Kareem airballed and it went straight to Harper. The crowd started going crazy. The Mavs were sprinting down the court as the time was running out, but Harper had no idea they were down and started to dribble the clock out, causing his team to lose. And this was also the day J.R. Smith found his GOAT, because as we all know, he also ran the clock out, but he did it during a finals game. There was even one time a dumb player asked his teammate to stand out of bounds, and then passed him the ball, causing a turnover. But what if I told you a player was able to accomplish both of these dumb things all in one play? Because Wafer did just that. He drove down the lane and missed a wide open dunk. For some reason, he started to celebrate and get hype. Then to top it off, he ran into his teammate, causing a turnover. Even as dumb as this was, Wafer is a genius compared to the Henny God, who has a history of doing dumb things like this. But the play that probably best shows his lack of brain cells is this one. In 2016, the Bucks were playing against the Cavs when out of nowhere, Tony Snow had a wide open dunk. What had happened was Jason Terry noticed JR, so he decided to call him over and talk to him. What he was actually doing was tricking J.R. Smith and distracting him, and it worked perfectly. Kobe also did something similar, except he fooled an entire team by doing something that's never been done in NBA history. Typically, when teams come out of a timeout, you have the coaches drop a play in order to get an easy score. So obviously you want to make it easier on yourself and stand by your basket. The Lakers did the exact opposite, which made zero sense. That's like wiping your crack before taking a dump. But that's exactly what the Lakers wanted. As they inbounded the ball, Kobe sprinted down the court and got a free dunk. By them standing on the other side, they had somehow fooled the Hornets into defending the wrong basket, costing them the game. Now, doing something dumb to lose a game is one thing, but having it lead to the collapse of the best team of all time is a whole nother. After the Warriors had lost to the Cavs in the finals, it seemed like they had reached their ceiling. It seemed as if the end was here. They had no answer for LeBron, until they pulled off one of the biggest free agency moves ever. They added Kevin Durant, and it was perfection. They won back-to-back championships, were considered the best team of all time, and just looked dominant. Well, that was until this play. As time was ticking, they were down against the Clippers. Like so many times in the past, the Warriors would look to KD to lead them to victory. And why would they not? KD's one of the best offensive weapons of all time. He's hit so many clutch shots in his career. However, for some reason, Donkey decided not to pass it to him. And the even more weird thing about it is, KD was begging for the ball, practically on his knees. Yet Draymond still refused to give it up to him. Instead, he ended up falling on his face with the game on the line. Then the worst part happened. The Snake and Donkey were going at it on the bench, to the point where Draymond even told KD to leave, and they didn't need him as they'd won without him. KD responded by saying, "That's why I'm out." As the season came to an end, he did exactly that, leading to the downfall of the greatest NBA team of all time. All because this Donkey's balls were cramping that day. Speaking of balls, this one player started dancing with his and injured himself because of it. Sam Cassell had hit a go-ahead jumper in a playoff game versus the Kings. He started celebrating by acting like he was carrying his big old balls. This ended up injuring his hip, ultimately causing him to miss multiple playoff games. Next is the story of when a man decided to get rid of his balls. No, not this man. It was when Stern replaced the ball the NBA had used for over 35 years. And it backfired. Right off the bat, the ball looked strange. As the players first started using it, they said it felt like plastic and like those cheap balls you would buy from the store. As the season went on, more issues came up. Players said that when the ball got wet, it became extremely slippery and hard to control. Even Shaq came out and said that shooting was going to go down and turnovers up because of how bad the ball was. Things kept getting worse. Cousin Steve Nash said the ball tore his fingers apart. Ray Allen said it caused his fingers to crack, and the ball was even making Dirk's hands bleed. What the hell is it made out of, pine cones? More and more complaints poured in from the players, until finally they pulled a Karen and filed a complaint with the labor board. The NBA was now balls deep with the situation and had to do something about it. So they announced that the old ball was returning. Now, even though it was a dumb idea in hindsight, the NBA said they just wanted to make sure that the best basketball players in the world would be playing with the best basketball in the world. The best basketball players had other ideas. Even though these decisions had good intentions, it didn't change the fact that they were dumb. When the home team wins a playoff game in the NBA, you have the workers drop confetti as everyone celebrates a win. However, this time, they dropped the confetti while the home team lost the playoff game. Again, good intentions, still dumb. Like the next one, the mascot was hitting his emote, enjoying himself, when he accidentally clocked the country's most prized human being. Are we sure that's not just Montrezl under there, by the way? Thankfully, though, Luka was okay. Another time, a mascot started a fire in the middle of the court. During a halftime show, the Hornets' plan was to have a ring of fire that the mascot would jump through to dunk the ball. When it was finally go time, it worked out perfectly. Except when they were trying to put the fire out, they couldn't. They spent several minutes on it, still couldn't. Then finally the big boys showed up and put the fire out. Unfortunately, it was way too late, as the stadium had turned into a Friday night at Uncle Snoop's house.